Hudson County View, live and uncut. And I'm your host, where what you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet, John R. Hudson. So, of course, we're going to talk about the hustle and bustle of Hudson County politics, just like we do every week. So, first of all, a story that got a boatload of attention yesterday is that 37-year-old Lewis Spears, who is an author, a youth mentor, and a former educator, has filed state paperwork indicating that he'll be challenging Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop on November 2nd. So obviously that merits a discussion, so we're going to talk about that in depth. And then on Tuesday, over down the road in the Mile Square City, it was a really remarkable day, even by Hoboken standards. So first, we heard from their Police Superior Officers Association, and they endorsed Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala for re-election. Now that in and of itself, of course, is not incredibly shocking. However, as the day went on, we also learned that Hoboken Police Chief Kenneth Ferrante will be retiring on July 1 after 28 years of service. And then, which I think is inarguably the most shocking piece of the puzzle here, we also heard that Hoboken Fire Chief Brian Crimmins has been placed on administrative leave for reasons that are still a question mark. For the time being, we do know that Battalion Chief Anton Peskins has assumed the role of acting chief. And of course, I will be joined by a guest, and that's going to be Council at Large candidate in Jersey City, Chris Gadsden, who of course used to represent Ward B. So he's going to be joining me remotely. Of course, he's also the Lincoln High School principal, so he had some commitments at school, so he couldn't make it to the studio, but he is still going to talk to us via live stream. So we're going to do that right after this break from our sponsors.
Cutting-edge surgical care is right here in Secaucus.
Robotic surgery is safer.
Shorter hospital stays.
Smaller abdominal incisions, the size of an M&M. Here at Hudson Regional, we provide world-class robotic surgical care.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Hudson. And as I said just a few moments ago, today I'm joined remotely with Jersey City Council at Large candidate Chris Gadsden. Chris, thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thank you, John. Thank you. It's always great to be, with you, hanging out with you. So
yes, next time we'll definitely. Yes, next time we'll definitely do one in person. But with that said, Chris, so first of all, you've had a really interesting history ever since 2013, back when then Councilman Fulop was challenging Jeremiah Healy. You know, you ran for the seat. It didn't go the way you would have hoped, but obviously Kemrod Dromchild ended up being charged in a DWI case. He ended up having to resign the seat, which led to a special election. You beat the incumbent, John Hallinan. And then just about a year later, you lost in the runoff election, December 2017, against Mira Prince Airy, who was, of course, the current Ward B rep. So with all that in mind, you're now coming back to run at large in November. So why did you decide to pivot away from a ward race and instead focus on a citywide seat this time around?
Well, citywide, our goal is to get back on council. And that's just number one, because Jersey City needs, more independent-minded individuals being on the city council. I had a decision to make, whether it be in the ward or, at large, citywide. I think at this juncture in my life, I look back at, just the service that I've done in Jersey City, and it's boundary, like it's boundaryless, like it doesn't have boundaries. Right. So I said, well, let me just be the people's representative. Let me just represent the whole city and test the waters and see how, I'll fare. And so that was a part of my decision making. So whether it be running against Mira again or running at large, the goal is to make sure that Jersey City has independence on the city council.
So while you haven't been on the council since 17, certainly you have made your voice a prominent one in the community. You know, we've seen you speak out so many times over the years, anything from tax abatements, certainly recently the Civilian Complaint Review Board and other sorts of police reform. And of course, we've heard about the tale of two cities so many times as well. You know, how the South Side sometimes gets left behind. You know, certainly a lot of people share that sentiment. So just at what point did you decide that you were going to make yourself a candidate again?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, John, it never left. Like just
All
because,
right.
just because I lost an election, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be civically involved, politically involved, or just lending my voice. Because once you performing a service for the people, it's just ongoing. It never stops. So it's just a matter of, well, what capacity is God gonna use me in? Is he gonna use? He used me in 2017 to be the council person. He's using me to be the principal of Lincoln High School. So what, you know, what capacity? So like I never really left serving, and so my decision to run is just like, it's in continuums, and this go around, it's time to take the people's fight, all throughout the city, you know, the first two times I was just learning how to maneuver politically within a ward, right? I got a little knowledge, and a lot of this knowledge comes from just, as I go along, I learn and I progress as I grow with people, grow with the community. People ask me, what am I doing? Why? Because they want to see their servant in that type of capacity. So it never left me, John, and I'm going to continue, this quest, this go around, and if another election comes around and I'm asked to serve in another capacity, I'm going to do that too.
Got it. So obviously, as an educator and a former council rep, I know that's something that you've had your eye on and that we've all been hearing a lot about is school funding. And you now know that the council and the Board of Education have been having joint meetings. And there's been a lot of talk about bringing the fight to Trenton. But when you think about this topic and what the city has done, what the state has done, and what the BOE has done, like where do you think the shortcomings lie, and how do you think we can fix them?
First, the shortcoming lies in the fact that Jersey City has prospered. And because Jersey City has prospered, the state is looking at tax base and basically saying that, well, you can adequately educate your students with the tax base that you currently have. And so when I was on council and, I caught wind of the changes in aid that's going to be given to Jersey City, I had at that time did some things that people thought was, politically motivated because it wasn't an election year. But Jersey City has to do things like share revenue, the pilot revenue, or, at that time we was talking about payroll taxes. But, Jersey City is going to have to do a lot more because over the next 2 years, you're talking about $200 million more in cuts. And so you're going to have to be very creative, and you're going to have to create new revenue streams in order to fix this. Like you have to fix it. You can't be as prosperous as Jersey City and not pay for your schools. We only pay, a quarter of our tax bills go towards the funding of schools. You look at any municipality in this state, and Jersey City is shortchanging, its schools. And so, this is a huge issue, and I'm glad that right now people are talking about it. But people are going to have to make some bold decisions. Do we institute an income tax here in Jersey City? Do we, occupancy, a vacant property tax? Like what are we going to do in order to get this revenue to adequately fund the schools? You can't commit $70-80 million to the Hudson County schools over the next 30 years and not create revenue streams to fix something. And, each year you can put it upon the school district to raise the tax levy, but you're just passing the buck. You just don't want, like the Fulop administration just doesn't want to take the accountability for raising taxes, because that's what it's going to have to do. And it's real quick to to blame a school board that's just only doing what is right to adequately fund the schools and to give our students the fair and appropriate education that they need.
Thank you, Chris. With that, we're going to take a word from our sponsors, but we'll be right back.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
At Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to be prepared for your emergency.
We promise to provide world-class robotic surgical care.
We promise to treat you like family.
To provide accurate diagnostic care.
To provide the most innovative orthopedic care at your doorsteps.
We promise to treat your baby like our own.
To never stop investing in the best of spinal care.
To be with you every step of the way.
Here at Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to take care of our community.
A brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's tough enough to have best-in-class available payload and smart enough to know that a cab can also be an office. A truck equipped with best-in-class available towing that asks, why can't all that power more than just this truck? No, your brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's the all-new F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John Arhitis, and I'm still joined with Jersey City Council-at-Large candidate Chris Gadsden. So, Chris, obviously we're still navigating, hopefully, the tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic, and obviously that's wreaked havoc on everybody's lives, but in particular the children in the schools. The Governor Phil Murphy has said that in September we're going to completely reopen and no more remote learning. So that's obviously challenging, in particular for you, because that's when election season really kicks into high gear, right after the Labor Day weekend. So just tell me, how you're planning to do that balancing act between, running for office and being, the top administrator for Lincoln High School.
It's all about balance. In 2017, I still had, a tough job. I was vice principal here at Lincoln High School, and I was also a ward council person. Now, a ward council person, that's the direct line, to the community. And so I had to find that balance. And so, well, how did I do it? Well, I relied upon some great aides. Mark Rowan, he did a phenomenal job, as my aide, and we was very much on top of, constituent services. So going into the next school year, we'll be back. I work inside of a school, but I don't do all the work by myself. I work with a tremendous staff, but I'm not ever going to neglect my first love, and that first love is the kids. And so the students will be all right. I know how to prioritize family, and please don't forget them, because because that's my number one. And I wouldn't be doing this unless my wife and said that it's all right, Chris, for you to represent the people. So not only do I balance school, I balance family, I balance my school responsibilities, and if I wasn't a council person, I'll be managing just community, because I've dedicated my life to servicing people, the most neediest, the downtrodden, the people who don't have a voice. That's 24-hour work. All right, so I'm a great father. Well, at least I like to think so. I think I'm a pretty good administrator, and I just want to be the best servant that I could possibly be, to the people in Jersey City and afar.
Point taken, Chris. So look, let's end on this note. So as you know, Lewis Spears filed paperwork earlier this week to run against Mayor Stephen Fulop, and he was talking about a month ago how the mayor and his administration has quote unquote been inept, and how the South Side's been left behind. And I know these are points that you've seen and you've heard and you've echoed at certain times. So when you look at his candidacy and how it reflects on you, the potential of you guys running together, and what this means for the city and making it fair and equitable for all, Again, Tale of Two Cities, gentrification, all that stuff that I mentioned at the top of the interview. I mean, what does that all mean to you when you piece it together?
Well, when I piece it together, like when you take advocates and people like myself and Lewis and Frank Gilmore and just folks alike, like what people are fighting for, it's this whole thing that I like to coin like a shared prosperity, right? People are saying, well, it's not fair that our youth don't have the recreational opportunities that they so deserve, right? It's not fair that people are being displaced and it's not as affordable, and we're not talking about creating wealth and home ownership. It's not fair that our schools are not properly funded. It's not fair that, we don't even fund efforts to help quell the violence and everything else that takes place in Jersey City. And it's not fair that we can't build bridges here in Jersey City, because everyone should be sharing within the, within Jersey City's growth, right? So everyone who's coming to the table right now, and I'm so happy that Lewis has decided to do this. Like, we're going to take that case to the people. And when you take that case to the people, like, people are finally saying to themselves, this election right here is a pretty exciting one, because you have a lot of bold ideas that's about to come forward. You have a bunch of people who have a stake in Jersey City who just going to just be fighting against it's a David and Goliath fight once again, right? But the people the downtrodden, the people who have been ignored, they're ready for this fight too. They're ready for this fight too. Like 2017, like they didn't have a reason. You know what I'm saying? I ran on a campaign with Bill Massacutis, and I love him to death. But like that whole thing with having someone who's been champion and pushing and fighting for youth, and who I've worked with over the last decade, saying to him, like we got to take this fight, to City Hall, whether he's inside of the mayor's office or whether I'm inside of city council chambers, helping to craft legislation to help support the people's agenda. That's power. See, that's power, and that's what
Thank you, Chris. We're running short, so I hate to cut you off.
I'm sorry.
Real quick, I just wanted to ask: do you anticipate you'll be running on a ticket with Lewis Spears come the fall?
All that's up for discussion and things like that. And he just announced it himself. So we'll be talking. We'll definitely be talking. And I love Lewis. He rock out for me. I can see I'm telling you right now that I'm supporting his candidacy right now. So that's off the rip. So these other discussions, they'll come, and you'll know shortly which way, we're going to go.
Chris, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. We'll certainly be speaking soon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, but we're not done yet. We're just going to take another quick commercial break.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, John Arhitis. So just a little bit more about Lewis Spears. Obviously, we just talked about him at length when we were speaking with Chris. But real quick, I mean, he filed an A1 form with the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission on Monday, which says that the total amount of money spent on his candidacy won't exceed $5,800, though he still has the ability to file an amendment, which I would imagine he will do because at the moment, Mayor Fulop and his team have a approximate $1.7 million cash on hand. So, certainly that's a disparity that's, you're not going to match dollar to dollar, but certainly you're going to want to raise every penny you can in a grassroots type of effort. Now, he's, as I think we mentioned, he's the executive director of the Kismet of Kings, and that's a nonprofit group established to mentor young men of color between the ages of 11 and 17. He's a graduate of the New Leaders Council, and he wrote the Amazon bestseller, You're the Answer to the Problem, From the Hood to Harvard and Back Again. Obviously also attended Harvard. And interestingly, it looks like the Fulop campaign is ready to get in the ring and fight. We heard from Fulop campaign spokesman Phil Swabinsky, who had this to say in light of the fact that Spears is an aide to Assemblyman Nick Stravellati and a youth grant coordinator for Hudson County. Mayor Fulop is proud of his accomplishments and his record of moving Jersey City forward, and we are confident that the residents will recognize that progress regardless of who runs against him. Anyone is entitled to run for office, but the residents of Jersey City will not want to go backwards in time with a professional double dipper like Lewis Spears, who has focused so much of his time on getting onto multiple taxpayer-funded public payrolls. So, looks like we have a scrap on our hands, and on top of that, 7 of the 9 council seats are currently contested. We are still awaiting to see a third candidate running at large, as well as a candidate in Ward A. So, let's get to Hoboken. I mean, there's quite a bit to go through there. Let's start simple. So when we were at the top of the day, that was Tuesday, we saw the Hoboken Police Superior Officers Association endorse Mayor Ravi Bala. And, they said proactive and effective leadership. He's put public safety first, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. So just a quick excerpt there. We heard from the PSOA president, that's Lieutenant Ed Drishti, and he said, "We know firsthand how committed Mayor Bala is to protecting the health and safety of Hoboken residents and ensuring the improvement of policing standards. His proactive and effective leadership on COVID-19 and on reducing crime demonstrates that he is the right man for the job." Simple enough, pretty enthusiastic, albeit, standard announcement, right? So, it was a little bit of a surprise when just a couple hours later, members of the press and members of the local government heard that Kenneth Ferrante, who has been the chief since late 2014 and has been on the job for about 28 years, will be retiring effective July 1. And we've heard a lot of good things about him, not just from the police department, but from the administration, and it seems that they worked well together. So I think it's safe to say nobody really saw this coming. And in a long email, he said, "Today I have applied for retirement effective July 1, 2021. I have proudly served the city and loved every second of it. In fact, my father, retired Captain Fred Ferrante, and I served for a combined 60 plus years at the HPD. For the past 9 years, I have not disconnected from work, not one day, and my command staff knows that is not an exaggeration. Over 3,000 days straight, where every single day I spoke to my command staff and answered emails and calls. And if you didn't know, Ferrante served as the Office of Emergency Management Coordinator for 2 years prior to becoming chief." So, that's all, fine and good. It's certainly going to be some qualified candidates coming out of the Hoboken Police Department, you would assume. I mean, I could think of at least 3 off the top of my head, but we're not going to get into that today because I do also want to talk about what's going on with the fire department. Again, Tuesday was just a whole lot of surprises out of Hoboken Public Safety. So there was a memo that came out from Business Administrator Jason Freeman, and he said, "Please be advised that beginning today, Fire Chief Crimmins will be out on administrative leave. In his absence, Battalion Chief Anton Peskins will be in charge of the department. For any fire department related questions, please reach out to Battalion Chief Peskins and me." So certainly this is not something you see often. I mean, frankly, I've never seen it before. But what I could tell you is just a little backstory that Peskins was named the Provisional Fire Chief in June 2015, a role that Crimmins assumed in November 2017 before being sworn in as chief in October 2018. So Crimmins declined to comment. Other members of the fire department deferred comment to VJ Chaudhuri, who is, of course, the spokesman for the city, and he said they don't comment on personnel matters. One source, actually more than one source, said that this is unprecedented, and no one has divulged any details, calling it, though, internal strife between Crimmins and other ranking members of the department. You guys will remember that Joe Grassi, a fire captain, filed a tort claim alleging political retaliation back in September, where he alleges he was at a meeting with Business Administrator Jason Freeman, and he said, "We know where you were on Election Day," referring to him helping out First Ward Councilman Mike DeFusco in the 2017 race against Mayor Bala, and of course others. It was a 6-person race. So interestingly, we heard from DeFusco on Twitter, and he said that the last thing we need is for the mayor to appoint someone who serves at his pleasure in an effort to advance his own political career at the detriment of public safety in Hoboken. And there are rumors of a public safety director returning, which they haven't had since the end of 2015. And in response to that, Sean Hurry said any future decision on personnel will be made at the appropriate time with full transparency to the public. So we're going to take a very quick commercial break, and then we're going to be right back for one final segment.
Pan & Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panandpintoproperties.com. Pan & Pinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John Arhitis. So as you guys know, back in February, Governor Phil Murphy established that marijuana will be legal in the state of New Jersey, and they've been in the process of establishing a regulatory commission. And something, though, that I think flew under the radar, I personally didn't know this until this week, that every municipality in the state of New Jersey has the ability to vote on whether or not they want marijuana businesses in the parameters of their municipality. So, you know, of course, you think of retail shops like you do kind of like at the medical dispensaries, but there's actually a lot of other options that are available. Like there's even delivery services, there's cultivation, growing services. There's actually 6 different classes, but we have seen in at least one municipality, that municipality being Union City, that it doesn't look like any of that's going to happen. Last month, the Board of Commissioners unanimously approved the first reading of an ordinance that would prohibit, blanket prohibition, if you will, any cannabis establishments. So that went to the Planning Board, and we heard from them on Tuesday, and again, that was another unanimous vote. Fortunately, after the meeting, I was able to speak with Board Counsel, that's Brian Chukaski, and the Planning Board found the ordinance consistent with the master plan, and now the Board of Commissioners will take an action whether to adopt the ordinance or not. Very quick meeting, as is typical in North Hudson, only about 10 minutes. Outcome is pretty expected given that Board of Commissioners vote I just spoke of. And according to Chukaski, the city's planner, David Spatz, said the ordinance is consistent with the master plan, in particular the sections that outline preserving the quality of life. So the reason that this August 21 date is important is because if municipalities don't take action by that point, then it automatically will allow all 6 different classes to become legal. And, certainly that could be problematic if that's not something that you think fits, the spirit of your municipality. So we also heard from Hector Oseguera. Of course, you guys all know that he challenged U.S. Rep. Albio Series in the Democratic primary last year, and he's the newest member of the Planning Board. And, he basically said that he didn't agree with the blanket prohibition because this is kind of like prohibition of alcohol in the 1920s instead of the 2020s. But at the end of the day, he did vote in favor of the measure. And he said, we discussed the ordinance, which is a blanket prohibition on the sale of cannabis. I obviously have a lot of thoughts on the issue, being involved with the social justice aspect of the cannabis legalization and prohibition. So I just put forth some thoughts. It was a very overwhelming vote on the issue of cannabis legalization, and I thought a blanket prohibition was not in that spirit, although I understand where it comes from, given that we're a very densely populated community, and I understand that most of the people in Union City would probably agree with the ordinance. So we also, conversely, right next door in Hoboken, the council voted on that last night, and it was approved unanimously. So look for that story in the next hour or two. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.